Alrighty, ladies and gents, welcome to another live show. We've got John Brzenk here, of course. John Brzenk, how are you, sir?
Doing good, Ryan. How about yourself?
Yeah, doing very well, doing very well. We've had a big week in arm wrestling this week, so lots of stuff to talk about. I've got some big stuff coming up. You've got some big stuff coming up, so I think it's pretty exciting at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, things are starting to get back to normal a little bit. It's just kind of nice.
Yeah,
Just the occasional arm wrestling match.
that's it. John, you got to tell me though, like, Arizona right now, how hot is it right now? Because it's got to be hot.
I don't know. I don't know what we got up to today. 117, 118 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, it's been hot all week.
Yeah.
Plus, we've gotten a little moisture in the air. This is kind of the monsoon season for us. So, yeah, it's tough.
Honestly, it's the favorite time of year is Arizona. This time of year for me, I honestly wish I could experience that heat at will. It's awesome. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's so hot that a 90-degree pool even feels cool. So it's kind of crazy. The
good
pool
stuff.
seemed cold because
As everyone starts to come in, we got Strength Old School, Tim Pipe, Wayne Bowen, Harrison Smith, Chris B. Morning, gents, or afternoon if you're in the USA. Morning for the Aussies that are watching. But John, the first big question that I guess we got to kick this show straight off with. It's probably the most significant hot topic relating to yourself. Last week when we discussed or when we went live, we made mention to the arm wrestling world that you were going to be facing David Khan in 6 weeks. What's
right.
the update? What's the update?
That's what I heard. And as of yesterday, it seems like it's a little bit tougher than they thought to get in and out of Russia. So as of right now, they're deciding to probably cancel that event or postpone it, and they're giving me now until October, which is great news for me. So
Okay.
I'm a little skeptical that things will be, all clear and back to normal by October, but I'm definitely back on the horse. Dustin came over and Brandon Hall came over and we did a bunch of pulling after we got done talking last week. And my wrist is really sore. I pushed it really hard. I think I pushed it a little too hard
Okay.
But yeah.
So October's a lot better than 6 weeks time. It gives you a lot more time just to get back in shape and prepare and whatnot.
Yeah. I need to lose 10, 15 pounds of fat and then maybe gain a little bit of muscle in the old hand and forearm so I can have a little bit of control back.
Yeah. Nice. So when you gripped up with Dustin last week, I remember before the match or before the training session, you were kind of laughing at yourself, not knowing at all whether you were going to be feeling good or feeling strong. How are you feeling?
Yeah. No, I actually felt pretty good. I mean, to be honest, I did pull a couple times with Dustin before I left Romania, and I pulled a few guys in Romania. I got a pretty good workout in Romania. So yeah, it doesn't take long for my tendons. Well, I say that. I don't know. I'm not really testing myself against really great pullers, but yeah, last week felt okay against both Dustin and Brandon. Like they were thinking, oh, you're back. You're a contender. You can still do it. I'm like, yeah, well, okay, well, I'm just barely hanging with you guys, and the guys that they're gonna put me up against are probably a little bit gonna hit a little harder, a little stronger. But yeah.
I haven't seen any new videos from David Khan in the last week, but if we're talking about the form of David Khan, he does look enormously scary.
Yeah. Well, even a couple of years ago when we saw him pull, he definitely even against the top guys, he was very offensively, offensive and explosive. I mean, brought Petrenko like an inch from the pass. So yeah, I was concerned even back then, but yeah, we'll just see how it goes. As long as I feel mentally like I'm somewhat prepared, I'm willing to give it a shot. But yeah, what they proposed a couple weeks ago was just crazy. Like, yeah, no, it's not gonna be pretty. It won't even be entertaining. So
yeah, well, I put a poll out, John, on my channel after last week, and I said it basically gave all the options. Can John Brzenk defeat David Khan? There was a no way. There was a yeah, maybe. There was I think he'll grind it out, and then there was of course he can. He's the GOAT. And 42% of people said, of course he can. John's the GOAT.
Yeah, jeez.
And then about 25% said you'll grind it out. So you had about 65% of the people thinking you're going to win. So
right, that's great. Yeah. Well, I would have voted for no way. Well, I told you what I thought. I mean, I'm a pretty good gauge at my ability, and it's probably a definite no way. But especially 5-6 rounds, I seem to last like one match, 2 matches, and then I go downhill really quick. So it's funny how. What I notice the most is just the hand and forearm. It just blows up so quick. I mean, just one pull and I'm like done. I mean, Renee can walk in and she beats me. I mean, it's just crazy. Without that hand and wrist, it's impossible to arm wrestle, and that definitely has to be in shape. Everything else can be crazy weak, but that hand and wrist has to be there.
So John, if October is when the match is now going to take place, do you anticipate to be the same weight as you are now? Do you want to get heavier, given that David Dedican's 110? Or
I asked, I said, what's the deal? Are we going to be strict with the 95 kilo thing? Because that was the proposed thing for the top 8, which for October I can definitely get in thin enough shape to be the 95 kilos. I probably have to dehydrate a little bit, but yeah, as it gets a little closer, I'll try to feel it out, make sure that these guys are going to still be wanting to do the 95. It makes no sense to be dieting any more than I have to. But if I can be in great shape, which 220 is a good solid shape for me, then just water weight loss to make the 95 isn't normally a problem. I mean, it sucks, but it's not a huge problem.
Yeah, I can only imagine that you'd be more competitive against David at 95, because it would be a big cut for him. Like he's way past 95 now, so I think for him to get back down to 95, it would be tougher on him than it is on you to be ready. And I think that you, but it is only fair that since it was advertised and you initially agreed at 95.
Yeah, no, I have a serious probably 20-30 pounds of just worthless fat. he'd have to lose probably 10-15 pounds of actual muscle. So yeah, I think it would be an advantage to actually be as light as possible.
Yeah, that's true. I know what it's like, John. I carry plenty of useless fat too. I'm trying to get my nutrition on point at the moment. It's actually a diet that I think you'd like. I'm essentially eating red meat all day. Little bit of extras, but the very vast majority of my food is red meat. So makes me remember back.
I think that's what works for me. I hear other people say, "Oh no, do the vegetable thing," but I don't know. I'm miserable on the vegetable diet thing. I'm always hungry.
I don't think I ate a vegetable at your place when I stayed there.
No. Well, pear is kind of a vegetable. It's barley.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, good stuff. John, over the last week, we obviously had East versus West as probably the main centerpiece for the sport. Did you get a chance to watch it? The live stream?
I did watch it. Yeah, I was able to log in and yeah, with your help, I was able to watch it. Yeah, it was a good setup. They had a little bit of a delay there midway through, which was a little frustrating, I think, for everybody. But other than that, I think it went off well.
Well, what I'll do, John, is I'm going to bring up the match with Ermes Gasparini. Let's watch it again. As we do that, we'll have a little bit of a discussion about it. Give us a second, YouTube, as I bring this one up. Okay, there we go. Ermes Gasparini, Matt Mask. Here we go. All right, so this match, this first round was the round where Matt gets fouled out. When I was watching it live, I didn't see it. It pissed me off. What did you think?
Well, just a lot of nervous energy, and he just didn't calm himself down and think it through. He's got the good side of the table. He's got the strap advantage to win this series. I mean, he's going to have the good side for 3 rounds, and he ends up wasting the first round on just double fouling out. I mean, so yeah, he just starts way too early. Maybe he felt like it was, he wasn't going to be able to slip away, but if he would have just calmed himself down and gotten the straps, I think he probably could have won that first round.
Yeah, I can't help but feel the same way, that which is kind of proven in the later rounds, that the buckle was playing a really big factor. And Ermy's hand was looking amazing in these setups, but Matt going early, I honestly thought you got warnings for going early as opposed to just straight up fouls, because there doesn't appear to be any warnings. It's just bang bang, it's all over, and down 1-0, which I was like, oh my goodness, this is my worst nightmare, for it to be fouled out. There it is. And there's the second go early, and they award the win.
Yeah.
Pretty rough. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I bet Matt's looking back at it going, wow, that definitely a missed opportunity. Whether or not, I mean, it looks like, Hermes ended up winning the final one on the good side, when Matt was on the good side. So maybe it wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, for sure, that was a lost opportunity to possibly win the series.
Yeah, you had Hermes going in as the favorite, didn't you?
I thought his hand would be too strong, and he would have learned from his loss in the WAL and would have posted and stayed solid like he did. I was kind of surprised that he didn't try to control the match a little lower on Matt's hand and arm, and really just control it inside. He did fight. Is the worst way you could fight against Matt, and just go hand to hand and try to out top roll him. And like I said before last week, it's no matter how much stronger you are, it's not going to really matter. Matt's going to have that height advantage to be able to really roll over the top of your hand, unless you really kind of secure it down low somehow.
Yeah. Where do you, given this performance from Hermes and the strength that you're seeing in his hand and wrist, where do you kind of rate him in the top ranks of the world now?
Well, he's got great back pressure. I'd have to just feel what he's got on the table just to see. I mean, is it the back pressure that's maintaining his hand and wrist so well, or is it really his hand size with the wrist strength? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't seem to be. I mean, he kind of reminds me of Arson a little bit. I mean, a little bit smaller in the hand and wrist, but just super massive forearm, probably great cup, and protects well with high knuckles, back pressure.
Yeah, I think that Hermes himself, I'm not sure if it's directly from Hermes, but I've seen Hermes, the crowd behind Hermes, really calling for an opportunity for him to pull Monster Michael Todd next. Obviously, they did pull. I think this Hermes might be too much for Michael.
Right. Well, the last Hermes was too much for Michael. Did Michael even win a match? I mean, the last time they pulled? I don't remember.
Michael won the whole match, but he never pinned Hermes. It was he won 4 rounds
by fouls.
Or 3 rounds on fouls. It was kind of crazy.
Right. But
how much do you think, like, the buckle matters when it's 2 top rollers like this? Like,
it's an obvious advantage, right? I mean, you see it over and over again, where one side wins, the other side, wins as soon as they switch sides. So it's still, even with buckle going through the middle of the hands, it's enough to really be a deciding factor in a lot of these matches.
Yeah. For me, when I watched the setups, I was seeing whoever was on the buckle side was just, during the application, was slightly turned under, and the non-buckle side slightly pronated, and like during the actual application. And you can see, Hermes crushes Matt there in that one. And Matt was hungry to get on the other side of the table. And it's kind of crazy. I think these guys, I personally want to see them go again, but I don't know if Hermes wants to do it.
I mean, what's your opinion? I mean, everybody's tried to make a more equal strap to make it more equitable, but it's basically to this point, it's been impossible to do. Would you rather see something that's equal no matter which side of the table, or do you enjoy this back and forth where there's a little bit more of a chess factor involved?
Honestly, I would be really disappointed if the strap changed in arm wrestling. I like if they totally dumped it. I know that they've in the past. I've seen people push for just a single loop strap where it doesn't go around your wrist. I personally hated the way that felt. I played around with it. But yeah, you can see Matt Mast taking control fairly convincingly there when Hermes has got the buckle. So I feel like because of these two guys' styles, it becomes particularly relevant, i.e. top roll v top roll. And they're both kind of low hand top rolling too. They They both want to dump their pronation and roll. So it seems to have a big factor. I know when I faced Chance Shaw, it was a huge factor, and the same thing to top rollers. But when it's a hook v top roller, it's less impactful, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Not much else to say about that. It's just, it's definitely proven to be a factor. There's no doubt about it.
So this match here, it's currently 2-1 to Ermes Gasparini. I think this is where he wins this round pretty convincingly. Again, if I go skip past it, we up to the point where it is here. Ermes is going to get the solid win. Matt's got the buckle. This is for the match. There it is. Yeah. The next round, where Matt's back on the good side again. Let's have a look at that. Do you think this round here? Hang on. Oh, we missed the start. Do you think this round here had lost the venom, or is Matt still trying?
I think a little bit of everything. Matt's already lost. He knows he can't win. It's just kind of a pride thing, and Ermes just seems to get that one little second before the go to secure it and lock it down. It's just a fraction of a nanosecond that makes the difference between securing it and not securing it. And he was able to secure it on the last one. Whether it was because Matt let down a little bit or decided he wasn't going to try to, false start or, get the jump. But, yeah.
100%. Daniel Urix made a comment saying, "Hey chat, did you guys get all of your super chats answered from last week?" I hope we did, Daniel Urix. Thank you for contributing to that today. John, there was another match that was equally for me main event caliber, and we're talking about Todd Hutchings v Hadzamurat Zaloyev. What did you make of that one?
I was so disappointed in Todd. I mean, Jesus, Todd. I mean, he's a seasoned arm wrestler, and he was just so, I don't know, stubborn, focused on his side hit that he doesn't stop for a second to think maybe I should pull back or keep my hand high or even go the opposite direction. He's got one speed and one gear, and it's side pressure to the wind pad, and he's basically buckling his own wrist back by doing that. I mean, I know he's been effective at doing that once he gets in the straps, but he needs to know or figure out how to get to the straps. He just felt like, to me, it just felt like he gave up even right from the get-go. I mean, just never even began to try to pull backwards. He just right underneath Haji's hand. It's, I mean, yeah, it was very frustrating for me to watch that. Like, Jesus, Todd, I mean, just pull back a little bit. I mean, surely you're strong enough. Your arm is strong enough. I know your hand's strong enough to at least get to the straps. And then once you're in the straps, then you can do that and prove to the world that you're the strongest on the planet going sideways. But boy, until you've got something, a hold of something and locked out, it was hard to watch.
Yeah. So this is the round 3 where Todd digs it back. He's lost the first 2 rounds with a slip in a losing position, as you said.
This is amazing. I mean, it's amazing that he's able to pull like this, jam it, and have the hands and wrist strength to pull the kind of pressure that Haji is actually putting on him in that position. But I've felt this many a times with Todd, and it's pretty damn impressive.
I agree. This position was absolutely crazy. That without a strap, he put the brakes on and then manages to start pushing through center and opening up the arm. Really,
he must just enjoy showing off that he can do this. That's the only explanation I can think of that why he continues to pull like that, especially without the straps. But
so Zoloev drags his elbow off the back there deliberately to get the restart because he could feel he was in trouble.
Right.
When it came to this start here, I thought, maybe Zoloev's going to get a quick pin again after that fatigue from Todd, but Todd actually looks like he was gaining the ascendancy right here on this restart. the hit barely goes anywhere near to the pin pad before Todd gets it under control again. At this point, I thought Todd's going to win. Todd's going to come back from here, and he is not going to lose this match.
You didn't think he'd lose the series?
Yeah, from this point here, when Todd just wins that round, I thought it's done. Todd can hit that out of straps
and stop it. Yeah,
stop it. But for me, Zola.
And I would agree, especially with Todd's, how great a shape he's in, and what kind of endurance that he possesses. He doesn't normally fatigue once he's got somebody on the ropes a little bit. He normally can just finish it off. But
I feel like Zola baited Todd into thinking he was safe in that fourth round, and Todd kind of went to slip this time, and he was expecting more fatigue in Zola, and he got caught. I feel like he should have stuck with the jam.
Yeah. Well, you can even just see the way Todd positions himself before they even say go. He's leaning back like he's gonna do his hard hit to the side. If he would just square up and kind of face his arm a little bit, I think people would maybe, try to maybe seem like they have to control him. I mean, as of the way he sets up, the way he's projecting himself, nobody really even has to concern themselves with trying to control or hang on to him. They just know he's coming across sideways. All they got to do is just pronate as hard as they can, and roll the wrist out as hard as you can, and you're gonna run into his arm.
Yeah, and we did get to see the final round being in the hook, but once the match is over, the heart is taken out of it. So it doesn't really count for anything, and Todd wins that in the hook. So
yeah,
I think it was good from Zola to show that. I feel like Todd was the stronger man, but Zola was the better man, and he dictated terms. He arm wrestled better, and that got him the win.
Yeah. Well, he's gotten the respect of Todd. Obviously, when they pulled in Las Vegas, he knows that Todd is a tough cookie when it's wrist to wrist. It's tough to beat Mr. Hutchings when it's in a hook. So, yes, it doesn't take long for most people to figure that out.
100%. Yeah, John, we've got a super chat come in from Daniel Urick, and it leads us on to the next topic nicely, which I want to discuss with you. He writes, Lachlan can't take the match with Derek, ? Does quarantine, due to quarantine when arriving home. So he's referring to Arm Wars Reality Check. So Pick Up yesterday kind of released some details on his channel about the confirmation for Arm Wars Reality Check. And we'll talk about the main event in a minute, but one of the matches, and to address Daniel's question, one of the matches that Neil has suggested is Lachlan Adair against Derek Smith. Two guys that you felt both of them.
Right.
What do you think of that match?
Well, Derek has, like Matt Mask and Devin Lorette, he's got the height advantage, so he's just really difficult to get a hold of. He's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger, he's got the height, and he's got a decent top roll. If you can figure out how to control that, get it under control, Lachlan Adair is plenty strong enough to beat him, but it's just going to be a matter of whether or not his hand and wrist can be strong enough to bring Derek's arm down to a level where he can just pull him to the side. I mean, if he lets Derek will try to stand his arm straight up and down and be a telephone pole, and you're going to have to be strong enough to bring that down at a decent angle. And if you can't, you're going to lose. Yeah,
that's it. And it's so it's really going to come down to the fingers and wrist of Lachlan against the back pressure.
Yeah, and he's not going to be able to out top roll. He's not going to be able to get as high as Derek. So he's going to have to, have confidence in himself to be able to grab probably a little bit lower on the hand and wrist, and be able to contain that.
No,
and I think he should. I think he'll be able to. I mean, unless Derek's gotten so much stronger. I mean,
yeah, Lachlan has gotten a lot stronger. I know Derek's committed to the sport, and I believe that he would be progressing. I do know very, very much firsthand how committed Lachlan is, and it's insanely committed. And his strength level in the last couple of years is really, reached the point where it's just crazy. I honestly, like, I've just gone around and beaten essentially everyone else in Australia, the former number one Ryan Scott, and I can't touch Lachlan at all. I just do a thing to him. Doesn't matter if I go early. Doesn't matter if I hit and he's catching. He just his hand is just too strong.
Right.
I think he will beat Derek as well if that match does happen. But
right.
I remember you pulling Derek. I remember it looked like you were turning the page of the Sunday paper the way that you control this.
I think the last time I've pulled with him since I pulled that little super match that I had at the Indian. I can't even think of what it is. It's some Mohegan Sun. What's our casino out here? Talking Stick. Yeah, Talking Stick. I had a super match with him, but Travis at the last minute kind of set up, and I hadn't been arm wrestling, but yeah, I mean, I was still strong enough and had the confidence to dictate it and to put it in a hook by just grabbing a little lower on the wrist. And if I had to set up like a normal setup against Derek, even at that time, it would have felt uncomfortable. It would have been a problem. But
yeah. And I'd love to dig more into what you think of someone like Lachlan Adair's potential. I know it's a hot topic for me on this channel. I talk about Lachlan a lot, given that he lives just around the corner. Genetic potential wise, like just how far do you think Lachlan can go in the sport?
Yeah, I think I shouldn't say this because he's not a super wide, powerful, thick, large hand and wrist person. I mean, but there's been many arm wrestlers throughout the past that have been able to protect those shortcomings with arm strength, frontal arm strength, back pressure, knuckles high. Gary Goodrich comes to mind. And if he can learn how to use the strap and have that, that just use his arm and back pressure, yeah, I mean, he can be as good as anybody or better than him. Yeah. I mean, the typical arm wrestler, Lachlan falls short of what I would be, fearful of. Like, oh my God, the guy's hand, I can't do it. A super massive hand, super strong hand, but he can compensate that by just overwhelming them with, back pressure.
Yeah, that's true. I think that his style, he's essentially become he's trying to be a big Giannis Amelin. So he is very much about back pressure, keeping those fingers high and rigid. So I think he's recognized that same aspect in himself, that the hand isn't as big as the other guys that are out there in the super heavyweight division, or not as thick anyway.
Right.
His hand is the same size as mine, which is 8. I think it's 8 inches from wrist to fingertip. So. But I remember notably, like your hand and my hand and elbow to fingertip were the same. However, your thumb and the thickness of your fingers and hand makes my hand look like a baby's hand. I remember that very well.
Yeah.
Did you, like, when you were 18? How thick was your hand then?
I think it's gotten a little thicker as I've gotten older, just with age. But I've always been, pretty thick build for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot quicker, a lot more rigid and being able to move fast and have the reflexes. That's just always kind of the thing that I've missed as I've gotten older. I seem to be always catching instead of hitting.
Yeah. And I know that you've said in the past that you felt your prime was when you were fast, didn't you? As opposed to you're stiff and strong later. Yeah, okay, for sure. And talking about the thickness and that, do you know the size of your wedding ring, for instance? Like,
I have no idea. No
idea. Because I know I just
is 11 a size? I'm thinking it's like is an 11 a size? I'm thinking 11 is. I think it's 11 for some reason, but I honestly don't know.
Let me look it up. What the American ring size to Australian, because my ring was when I got mine fitted. The woman said to me, "Oh my goodness, your fingers are thick." I was very close. Like we have it in the alphabet, so from A to Z. and I was an X on my finger. So
Oh wow.
I thought, okay, and I thought, gee whiz. Right away, I was like, man, John would be a Z triple plus or something.
But I'm not huge compared to a lot of the guys that I've gone against. I mean, there's a lot of bigger guys out there, especially here in America.
Yeah.
There's some monsters.
So, so you reckon 11 is a size? Definitely, 11 is a size. You'd have to be bigger than 11, John, because an 11 is only it's only a V in Australian. So you got to be up around surely a 14, 15, 16.
Okay, don't know.
Well, the other thing, talking about thickness and size, I know Devin Larratt was a big fan of it, and I kind of noticed the correlation between head size and arm wrestling rank, and it seemed to be pretty pretty common. Like obviously Levan's got a big head, Devin's got a big head, and I have a big head, and then then I put on your hat when we went for a drive one day, and I was like, hang on a second.
I've always had huge head. I was always uncomfortable to play football as a peewee and through high school because I could never find a helmet that would fit my head. All the school helmets, even the largest one they had, still wouldn't fit me. It was crazy.
Yeah, and guys, to give you some perspective, like I said, I have a big head. I know I have a big head, and when I put your hat on, John, I was swimming in that thing. What?
Yeah.
It's a custom made hat or something, isn't it?
No, yeah, it's not a good thing to have a big head. That's just
the only exception to the big head ranking rule in arm wrestling is Matt Mask. When Matt Mask will come out and say he's got a pinhead. So
right.
No. Anyway, so Lachlan v. Derek, if that match does happen on the Arm Wars card, I think it's Lachlan's match to win. I actually don't like the match, and the reason I don't like the match is because it's two up-and-comers against each other. For me, that doesn't really tell the story. Like, if both of these guys have progressed tremendously and they have a great match, no one knows anything about the new balance of power, so to speak. So I always like old guard against new guard. But this is
someone that's established themselves in the rankings that's pulled a bunch of guys. Right, you're right. It's been that way for everybody, though, right? Everybody's been on lockdown for the last year and a half, 2 years. That nobody really knows about anybody anymore.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but so even still, I think it does have the makings of a good match, and yeah, there's a lot to be sorted out as to world rankings. But on that Arm Wars card, one match that has been locked in, it's been publicly announced that will definitely update the world rankings in a sense, is the main event, which is RVJ against Sasha Andreev. What do you think?
I don't know anything about Sasha. I've watched him the one time in Moldova. Very stocky, short, powerful. I would almost classify him as unbeatable, possibly in a hook. It's just going to depend on if RBJ can, how good of an advantage he can get and be able to be strong enough to finish him. I mean, I don't know how stubborn Sasha is either. I mean, if he gets his hand and wrist compromised a little bit, is he still tough to beat?
Sasha's most recent outing, he beat Zarakishvili from Georgia, who's the number one.
Wow.
Yeah, so and he beat him 5-1 in a super match. Got top rolled out of strap. He never lost his wrist, but he got pinned out of strap the first one. And then he found the strap and he really crushed him once he was in the strap. So
yeah, I would imagine that's probably a good tactic to take against Rob, is to be able to somehow figure out how to equalize that hand by getting to the straps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was on a live with Rob Vigent and Neil Pickup yesterday, and Rob Vigent made the comment that he actually expects the match to go into a hook, and he's ready to beat Sasha in a hook. And I was like, oh,
oh my goodness. Well, now I've just changed my bet. I'm going with Sasha. The last time I heard Rob have that kind of confidence, he ended up getting beat by Hutchings. So you got to be careful. I mean, yeah. even being in the greatest shape in the world, but you got to recognize people's builds and strengths, and that's just something you don't want to. Avoid. You avoid it at all costs.
The shape of Sasha, like you said, when you said short and stocky, I don't think I've seen a more short and stocky build than Sasha. So yeah, to sink down into a hook with him when he's that compact, it's just opening your arm angle up so much and kind of crazy. John, I just want to knock over a couple of super chats before they go. Dane Lee says, just paying tribute to the GOAT. He's put in $5. Thank you, Dane Lee, for the contribution.
Thanks, man.
Ryan Mann says, get John to Brisbane, Blue. When are you coming out of Brisbane, John?
As soon as they stop this craziness with quarantines, right? I mean, you guys still doing the 2-week thing? I mean,
yeah, we still got the 2-week thing.
Things are really loosening up here. I mean, it seems like anyway. I'm surprised that I heard that Russia was being as tough as they are with the visas and quarantine and that stuff. But yeah, I know it's still bad in certain places in the world, but it's definitely seems like we're over the hump here.
Yeah, we've had it really good here particularly my state. Melbourne has had it pretty bad. They've had a lot of lockdowns, but I've had a total of 6 days lockdown since COVID began, really. So it's been essentially normal. You wouldn't know there's anything wrong with the world if you judged off Brisbane-based society, but we still have the 2-week quarantine, unfortunately. And yeah, you would have been here. You and Renee would have made it out for the wedding. It would have been a bit of fun, but
it looked like a great time.
It was good. We had the arm wrestling after party, which was awesome. But John, we got November. We have Over the Top 2, which is probably we're hoping and praying that the Australian government changes it by then. So I'm sure that Phil Rasmussen, the president of the AAF, will be sending you a message should that 2 weeks disappear.
Yeah, that's a good time of the year to go to Australia, right? That's springtime, right?
It is. It's just the last. It's just December is when it starts to get hot. So you would just
hot. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the last time I was there. It was probably December, January, because it was crazy warm.
Yeah. For sure. We got a super chat from Chris Gammo. He says, I missed the first one of these. Glad to catch this one. You're the man, John. Stay cool in this Arizona heat, brother. Keep up the good work, gents. Thanks. Thank you, Chris Gammo, for that one. I don't know. Something I have a weird memory about the Arizona sun. Because it gets hot here in Brisbane, and when you go outside in Brisbane, I personally can't spend more than 10 minutes in the sun because I can feel my skin just blistering. It's bad, but somehow in Arizona, I felt like I didn't even put sunscreen on, and yet it's so hot, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, the ozone sticker. I think we're far enough south that during the summertime, I think the sun starts heading even further north of here. So it might not even be as direct as like living in the high altitude of Salt Lake City. So maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know. And right now it's unbearably hot. I mean, it's even just tough to breathe.
Yeah. So John, we've got another question from the Hunster here. He says, hey John, he must have just tuned in because he's asking, who do you have to win the RVJ v Sasho match? And how do you see that match going? If you were RVJ, what are you doing against Sasho?
Just establishing good hand position, getting a top roll. And if you got that advantage and you feel comfortable, let it, depending upon which side of the table you're on, you just got to think all things through. If you're on the good side, maybe bleed them out a little bit, but don't get yourself into trouble. This is all going to be new to both of them. I mean, they don't have any experience against each other. I know Rob's in, super good shape. He can pull in a hook with the best of them, but it's a bad idea to test that off, super early in the rounds. So I would hope that Rob would just try to get hand position and really burn his hand out as much as he possibly could. I mean, pull a Devin Lorette, basically, mess up with the start, fiddle around, just get him pumped up, because no matter how short and stocky and strong you are, if you lose that hand and wrist, it's tough to even pull on a hook. So If he does the right things and wears them out, I think he's definitely got a chance. But if he goes in there thinking that he can just bang it out and we go wrist to wrist, I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, so one of the unique tools that Sasho possesses is an ability to test his frame more than anyone. When he supinates, he will hit with his shoulder, bang, bang, over and over again, even before he's collapsed the pronation of his opponent. And he seems to be so resilient there that I think that
right,
he really gets sucked back in by making the wrong tiny movements.
Right. He's very similar to Todd Hutchings. So, I mean, if I was RBJ, I would definitely be thinking that's the kind of guy that I'm going up against. And
yeah, because I know that I've always, when you've kind of described RBJ to me in the past, as very similar to yourself in terms of what your hand and wrist capabilities are and the style of arm wrestler that you come about. So it makes sense completely that yeah, he wants to use that hand and wrist. I think that I think RBJ is seeing this as an opportunity to not only just win the match, but I think he wants to really make a point. I think he feels like he hasn't been given the credibility amongst the Eastern Europeans, and he wants to get it by not only winning, but winning where Sasho is meant to be good.
Yeah, and that's all fine and dandy. I mean, but do it in round 3 or 4 after you've won a couple, after you kind of gauge where you're at in the game.
Yeah, you know how close.
Don't jump in both feet first round thinking, okay, I'm gonna bang it out, and then you're trying to survive the next 5, not looking, trying not to look stupid.
Yeah, 100%. But that is going to be an amazing match. Wars reality check returning in October. I've been thrown in the mix on that one as well. Neil has got me up against the UK's 100 kilo champ Stoika Bogdan. Stoika is someone who 100 kilo national champ for the Brits, has a decent amount of credibility in Eastern Europe and in the Western world as well. So I'll come in pretty big and strong for that. I'm excited. Neil was initially wanting me to pull Nicholas Nanestad, and I said, and I ended up saying, I think I'm going to be significantly bigger. I know Nicholas's last time I saw Nicholas, he was competing in the under 85 kilo at the IFA.
Right.
It's more likely that I'm going to be 105 kilos by the time this comes around, maybe even 110. I'm trying to get big at the moment.
Right.
So Neil,
and travel wise, what is it going to take for you to make that trip if you so desire?
London, I think Melbourne to London is like the longest commercial flight in the history of flights. So it takes it's like 26 hours, 27 hours in the air or something.
Oh, wow. But no quarantine. I mean, each way.
At this stage, the UK still has quarantine, but their prime minister has apparently announced that it's going to be dropping in a month or so's time, so it should be okay to get in. But I will, as far as I know at the moment, I still have a 2-week quarantine when I get home to Australia, which for a big event, I'll take it on the chin.
You'll do it. Yeah, you work from home, right? There's no reason for you to be out and about. I mean, I don't know how strict they are, but
yeah. The quarantine, unfortunately, the quarantine is not at home. The quarantine is in a hotel. You have to do it.
Oh, great. So not only you got to quarantine, you got to pay for a freaking hotel for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's the real pain in the ass, to be honest.
That's bad.
Anyway, so Stoika
quarantine with the rest of the people that are been traveling with COVID.
Exactly. And the worst thing that happens is if the hotel you're in gets a little reported outbreak or something, they reset the damn time on you and you're in there.
It's crazy. It's crazy thinking.
I can't wait for it all to be over.
It doesn't make any sense.
Anyway, so John, your preparations, let's say you're facing David Dadakan this October. Does anything change in your preparations? I know you've been a once-a-week table time guy.
I'm going to just be concentrating on a lot of just hand and wrist back pressure. I'm assuming he's going to stay to form and be trying to control the match inside, coming across towards me, so I'm not really too worried about trying to contain a top roller. So I'm just going to be hammer curl, and developing that back pressure. And I hate to keep repeating myself, but my biggest thing is just trying to strengthen my shoulder up. I mean, I'm going to start just doing kind of lat pulls and just drag, on a daily basis, and just see where that takes me. I mean, that's my toughest thing right now is just developing that side pressure and that stability in the shoulder. It's just not there, especially if I get stopped. It doesn't take but no time at all for it to start popping, and just it's hard to even keep it flexed. So
I remember it well when we gripped one of the first times. I remember when we strapped up and we kind of went inside and we started ramping up on side pressure, and the next minute I heard and felt the pop.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there is a solution. I'm gonna try to start arm wrestling hard and just see where that takes me. In the past, that's made it, just aggravated it. But I'm gonna try to incorporate, not weightlifting, but bands and stuff to really try to strengthen the opposite direction with the shoulder. See if that takes me anywhere.
I've had with my shoulder injuries over the last 6 months. That's what's been the most beneficial for me, is just anything with the opposite direction. So external rotation, and I'm the same. I do a lot of bands where I'll string up a band over here, and I'll just up and down just to stabilize, because I think I've totally undoubtedly overcompensated this way and not been ready. That so I feel like that's a key for me, and it's got to be good. It's got to be good in the long term, I guess. But the shoulder being the biggest injury or the biggest issue coming into you, so I guess that means you're confident that your hand and wrist is going to be adequate to.
I don't think it even is going to be needed or required with David. I think he's going to want to try to control the match so hard that all I'm going to have to do is just do this. I mean, I just try to run away as hard as I can. So my hand size is going to be a bigger factor. It's just going to have to be just that back pressure, that low hand dragging back pressure, and hitting to the side to be able to buckle that wrist, which is going to be the hardest part of that combination.
Yeah. So if the side pressure is lacking, do you see yourself just back pressure and climbing and then a quick transition to a press or something, or?
I hope that doesn't come to that, but yeah, I mean, if it's painful enough or the stability is not there where I can hang out there, then we'll just see how my endurance is. If I can stop the match and hang out there, then maybe I still have chances. I just have to wait for him to wear down a little bit before I make that surge to the side.
Yeah, for sure.
If I get to that point, I'll be happy. I just need to stop. I just want to be able to stop the match. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, I tend to think, like, when I looked at that poll on whether you get crushed, you just lose, you just win, or you'd crush. I was torn between a lot. I was thinking first couple of rounds, I feel like you're gonna really shock him with your hand and wrist and your pronation. I think that it'll do the job, and if you get those clean wins, I think he's in trouble. But if it is a grinding match over 6 rounds, it's tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've never been a great endurance puller. So yeah, 6 rounds with anybody scares me.
For sure. I want it the other way. I want it best of 21.
Right. You're in a lot better shape. I need to. Yeah.
Yeah, John, we got a question, super chat question from the Hunster. He asks, John, who had more horsepower, Dave Chafee or prime Richard Lupkes?
Dave Chafee.
Whoa, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to say Lupkes.
No, Dave Chafee's his side pressure may be the best that there ever was or is. Dave's only lacking the hand and wrist size. I mean, if he had a little bit, not that his hand isn't super, super strong, it's just not extremely large where it's dominant against everybody. He still is vulnerable against the really big guys. Richard was tough to get away from because he was big and wide and thick. Dave, if you get a right hit in the right spot, you can get a little bit of angle on him and his hand and wrists. They don't move, but you can still get a position on him because he's not super massive. But yeah, no, Dave Chafee, once he's locked down and he's got that bow in his wrist, that's a lot of freaking side pressure. So I'm going with Dave.
Nice. That's good. Yeah, for me, yeah, Richard was one of the, just hearing the stories of Richard and watching the old footage, he did look like a monster. But
yeah, Richard was just not even just crazy strength. I mean, Richard would press you with his tricep. I mean, it wasn't even really an arm wrestling move, and you would be so scared because of the size and the feel of the setup that I think a lot of people shut down, including myself, just when he got behind his arm a little bit and he just even made that pushing move. It's like it shocked you more than anything. Because it wasn't a natural thing that you would normally feel from an arm wrestling move, an arm wrestler.
So it was the integrity of Richard's elbow and hand and wrist in the setup that just felt intimidating in that sense.
Yeah, and it was just in a direction that was just so bizarre that for most people, until you realize or just kind of figured out, that this man was capable of doing that, it was hard to adapt.
Yeah. So with Dave Chafee being ahead in that regard, obviously he probably at the same event that you're going to pull David Dadakan will be the Dave Chafee against Levan Saganishvili.
I hope so. I really hope so.
I think it will be. So, where does that go? That's an amazing match. I know there's a lot of pressure on Igor that his guy Levan wins, but for me, I feel like they're underestimating Dave Chafee in this respect.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, Dave just has to be able to figure out how to grab onto that tree. I mean, Levan's a tree, and I think the straps would help Dave. So if he can forget about trying to use his hand and wrist strength to just take the match sideways and basically bail somehow in the first round, pull back instead of sideways, and then lock it down, and he's on the good side of the strap and gets a good bow. I think Dave can win it. But I mean, just everything has to work out right. I mean,
I think I agree with you that I think Dave can win it. I think Levan can win it, but I definitely think it's a possibility Dave wins, and a reasonable, for me, it's quite a reasonable possibility.
Mm-hmm. Once Dave gets a little angle on Levan's arm, if he's able to, gets him just in his power lane at all, he'll take it right to the pad. I have no doubt in my mind that he'll take it right to the pad.
And Dave is not going to be scared to go wrist on wrist at all with him.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. No, Dave just needs to be able to control it. And if he can't control it, if Levan's strong enough and big enough to make Dave feel like he doesn't have a hold of anything, then it's going to be hard for Dave.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it is for anybody.
John, we got another super chat in, and it kind of relates to what we're talking about there. It's from Machine Destroyer. He says, big fan of the GOAT, John. I've got a question for you. What did you think about the latest Devin v. Michael match? Now, we did speak about this last week, but in relation to, especially with Dave Chafee, should Dave Chafee beat Levan? What does that do for Devin? What does it do for Michael? And so give us kind of a recap of your thoughts from the performance from Devin Larratt against Michael Todd.
Well, Devin he obviously got stronger and bigger everywhere, but he fixed the hole or the requirement in beating Michael Todd by just standing tall and maintaining that hand and wrist and letting Mike roll into his hand. So it was more, obviously lots stronger, but it was more about his approach, the technique that he used. Do I think Devin's just ungodly way stronger in all the different areas? I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, I mean, as far as Devin against Levon or Devin against, I think Devin against Levon is going to be a better match for Devin than Devin against Chafee. Even again, I think Devin's going to still have a hard time with the horsepower or the side pressure of Dave Chafee. He's going to have to rely on special equipment and big cushy elbow pads and straight King's move arms to even compete at his size against someone with the strength of Dave Chafee. And that's just my opinion, but I think Dave is still going to be stronger in that respect.
Yeah, I think if you're on the 7x7 pad, it's a very different shape match, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. What if Dave beats Levon? Then it kind of messes up that whole scenario, right? I mean, it's kind of non-eventful for Devin to then try to go against Levon. So the match will be against Chafee, which, yeah.
It upsets you.
I would like to see that match on a different set of circumstances and a different table and a different set of rules. I think I don't think I would bet against Dave Chafee.
I somewhat feel sorry for Dave Chafee, and for the reason that if we wind back the clock to 2018, if you look back, so just before Andrei Pushkar's death, if you look at the world rankings then the opinion-based world rankings that are run by a panel of people, and it's largely the respected among Eastern Europeans anyway for the world rankings, Dave Chafee it was Dave Chafee and Pushkar. They were the top two dogs. And they never got the opportunity to face. And instead of Dave kind of then, without like Levon and Vitali came along, they never had to beat Pushkar or Dave, and they've just gone past Dave. And because of Dave's loss to Michael and Devin on the WAL pad, where, as you said, it was messy and ugly, and the pads really made a difference. Dave's now slipped, and I just think Dave is actually still there as well. I don't think that.
Yeah.
I don't think he slipped.
And I don't think Dave worries about it too much. I think he knows where he's at, and he'll be able to. He's got plenty of time to prove it. So, yeah.
Well, that's it. Well, he could, like I said, he will really potentially upset the apple cart in Eastern Europe if he beats Levon. People are going to lose their minds. It's also going to upset Devin Larratt's PR machine that was that match against Levon. So
right.
We'll see.
I mean, everybody's giving Levon so much credit. Maybe he should get credit, but I think probably a lot of the credit is just because of his massive size. I mean, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
He definitely deserves that credit. I mean, it's undoubtable where Levon is, but it is. I feel he got I'm not going to say an easy path, but he got a fortunate path in terms of that he never had to get through Pushkar and Chafee. He didn't
Dennis
overcome those, and Dennis got sick as well. So the three guys that were going to be his biggest challenges kind of fell over, so to speak, from right. Yeah. So Levon is there. I have no doubt Levon's there, but yeah, we need to see it. So the Dave Chafee Levon match will be very, very, very fascinating for sure. And now that you say he's stronger than Lupke's was, that makes me go, oh my goodness, oh wow. Here we go. Your last match with Dave Chafee was what, in the Russian A1?
Yeah, that was a gift to me from Denis Saplinkov. So that was I think semifinals, or that was the losers bracket, right? That I pulled Dave after he struggled with Saplinkov, and I got crushed by Andre. But we both came into that tournament, I think, a little tore down. I know I was tore down, and I can't remember exactly what the situation was. If we had just pulled WAL 2 weeks before, or I mean, it seemed like we had both gone into that kind of just over, like a week later or 2 weeks later from a big tournament that I was still feeling the effects of. Yeah. But he definitely was wore out they bounced back and ran our match like within 10 minutes of his match with somebody else. So it and he still had enough surge and side pressure to beat me off the go. I couldn't top roll through his hand. I mean, that's how strong Dave is to me. Beat up, wore out, pumped up like he was. His hand and wrist were still iron. I didn't even attempt a top roll. I was like, screw that. I just gonna have to. If I can't catch him in a hook, and I can't do anything. So, but anyway.
Guys, we got about 5 minutes left here before we will finish the show up. So if you have any last questions, now's the time to ask them. We'll get them into John before we go. But so John, between now and October, the hammer curls are gonna be the main feature of your training in a strength sense. Table time with Dustin and the Arizona crew. Are you gonna travel around at all the USA, or do you have anything else between now and then?
No, I'm not going to be hitting the circuit. I'm just going to keep it close to home. Between Dustin and Brandon Hall and Eric Wolf, I probably could find enough arms here to just keep it local. I know Chance Shaw wanted to try me. Maybe after a month or so of pulling here local, I'll give him a ring and maybe have him come out here or fly to Florida or to maybe step it up a little bit just to see where I'm at, against an unusual strong arm.
Chance is seemingly on the up and up at the moment. He's embraced the super heavyweight division, and he's making some pretty impressive wins. It's undoubtable. I think his match against Ron Barth was unfortunately cancelled. Would have been a really interesting gauge to see that super match, but he's looked good. He's got some significant pins lately, and I know that he's hungry to crack into that genuine top tier, and probably not that far away from it. So yeah, that'll be fascinating. Watching you guys train would be immense.
Right. And when did you say the UK one? The Neil's
late October, I think October 30.
October. Okay, so October 2. So yeah, I have to give Rob a call and maybe even get with Vision at one or two practices. I know he wanted to do that in the past, so he would definitely be a good.
Yeah, you and Rob would be some good training. That would be the ideal sort of training.
It's always good. It's always good conversation with Rob to be able to try to analyze stuff. We have different views on things, but this would be helpful.
Daniel Eric makes a comment. He said, "I'd like to get you back to, I can't even pronounce this, Chehalis, WA again at one of my events."
Oh yeah, in Washington, Chehalis.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I need to get out of the heat. I'd love to go north if there was something up there. I should check into the circuit and see what Leonard and East are up to lately and see if there's some small tournaments to go to. I do kind of miss that. It's not quite as easy for me to do as it used to be living in Salt Lake, but yeah, probably not a bad idea to mix it up with some other different arms.
Yeah, that's it. That was one of the cornerstones of your, I guess, development in the sport, wasn't it? To just travel and arm wrestle.
Tournament. Yeah.
For sure.
I enjoyed it.
No, good stuff. All right, ladies and gents. Well, we might wrap that one up there. Thank you for participating in the chat this morning or this afternoon. Always appreciate all the super chats. Thank you guys so much. Of course, guys, head over to poundforpoundarmwrestling.com where you can grab everything, handles, straps, t-shirts, all that sort of stuff. It's all happening there. And John, thank you so much for tuning in with us once again. We always enjoy picking your brain, and good luck with the preparations for Big David.
All right.
Hopefully small David. Hopefully 95 kilo David.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll keep in touch. We'll talk. We're gonna do this next week.
Yeah, we'll do it next week.
Same bat times, same bat channel.
That's the one. That's what they say. All right, guys.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
All right, we're off.